Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your introductory actions and comments. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for your passion and your honesty today. I had I had one area of conversation in your budget and prospectively, but I'm going to add a second one. So I'll ask these two questions at the same time because they're interrelated, but we also have to distinguish the differences. First, on mental health, you and I have had this conversation multiple times now, I think. We passed a bill out authored by myself and the chairman just a week ago, and a series of bills, a wonderful bill by Representative Wild, Representative Hayes has had a bill prior. But on mental health, our bill, Mental Health Matters Act, the spirit of it is to invest, and question on your budget, in the whole array of how do we get more services for kids and teachers in particular, from Head Start to higher education, a pipeline so we get more people into the field. We know from the ACA and parity that there's been a very large increase in the request for mental health services. I very much appreciate the hearings we've had and the sentiment by all of my colleagues, including the ranking members, about stigma. So what can we do and what are we doing in the budget, and what could we do more in the budget for mental health, and how we coordinate with other initiatives in other departments? HSS just announced a week ago a grant for the study and coordination of social media and its effect on kids. So that's the first question. The second is more related to what's just happened. And I'm reminded of the Steinbeck quote that a sad soul has killed more people than any germ. And this hopelessness over what's happening in this country, in schools in particular, that you addressed, and we do have to distinguish these. The United States is now not an outlier when it comes to mental health, but we are when it comes to gun violence. You're 25 times more likely to be a victim of gun violence in the United States. The US has 4.4% of the world population, but we have 42.5% of the guns in the world. So separating those two, first, what you're doing in the budget to do more for mental health for teachers and students, and a career pipeline for people to go into the field of mental health so we can get these services up. And second, can you do more about school safety and specifically gun violence? Do you have more authority without the Congress? And at the same time that you look at that and push it in the urgency you expressed in your initial opening comments about this, can you look at everything you can do to coordinate for the very best evidence-based research that we've had success with the minority when it comes to criminal justice reform? Give us the facts, give the states the facts. We know in Connecticut, California, what happened yesterday is less likely. It still can happen, but it's less likely statistically because of the legislative actions they've done. So if you could answer those two questions, can you do more while you work with us to do more statutorily and in a conversation with the minority where we can have success?
Yeah, thank you for that, and thank you for your advocacy. You know, I do believe the mental health needs in our schools have been greater even before the pandemic. And in my conversations with students, as recently as a couple of weeks ago when I was in Nevada, New Mexico, excuse me, there were students who said that if it weren't for the supports that were put in place post-pandemic with ARP money, one student said, those supports saved my life. We are at a crisis right now. So I do appreciate the Surgeon General lifting it to the level of crisis. This budget proposes funds to make mental health supports not just a little bit more, but pervasively change the system to make sure it's the foundation under which professional development is provided for our educators, making sure that more programs are available for our families and our students. We're supporting community-based programs in our schools so that students have seamless access. We know students are 6 times more likely to access mental health supports in our schools than they are in the community. So that's why we're promoting full service community schools and mental health supports in our schools. Thank you for the 90 million in the omnibus, but we're proposing more because we need more mental health support work in our schools. So yes, foundationally, our schools have to be transformative in their changes to make sure mental health access is there for all students. Going to the second question, we're working very closely with HHS on an intergovernmental approach to work more closely to make sure that these systems are pervasive in our country and not just pockets of excellence. And we look forward to working with our Republican colleagues to just move the politics. Let's talk about what our kids need and give us the opportunity to share from the perspective of educators what the needs are in our schools. And I hope we can make some progress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My time's up. I'll yield back, but I look forward to further conversation about what you can do more on school safety.